over the years, there's been many comic book villains that have been made, starting from the beginning of comics to now. But there's always been a question of whose villains are the best. Some people could say Superman, but they're they're not the best because they're all aliens, and it's really hard to say, oh, aliens are the best because they have all these superpowers that make it harder for a regular person to take down. Spider-Man's villains, like, they're more well known because of the Spider-Man movies, and because Spider-Man is one of the top tier superheroes of all time. But can you name more than just a couple Spider-Man villains? But I think that Batman has some of the best super villains of all time. And my qualifications for this is I'm a huge comic book fan, and I just see all the many reasons why Batman's villains have become the best supervillains of all time. And another one reason why I think this is because Batman's villains make him who he is. But I'll get to that later. A question that I have is how many supervillains of Superman have had their own movie? Zero. But when you think of Batman's villains, there's one in particular that has come out in recent years that make show us the history of one of Batman's greatest villains of all time, the Joker. The Joker movie was a huge success, and it's going to be getting a sequel, but we don't see that with a lot of other comic book supervillains. And also, there's been a lot more movies, Batman movies, that have included lesser known characters that have become fan favorites. This year, in 2022, not a lot of people had heard about the Riddler until the Batman movie came out. And now, pretty much everyone loves that movie, and they consider the Riddler a really good villain for Batman. Also, back in 2012, The Dark Knight Rises, Bane was not a really well-known character to the public. Some people had heard about him just because of the comics, but because of that movie, people have loved him and had seen why he was one of the really good villains against Batman. And then, back in the 90s, Batman Returns, Catwoman. Catwoman was not well known again until the movie came out, and then because of Michelle Pfeiffer and because of other many things, and now we've had so many more Catwomans, but Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is still one of the best portrayals that has been able to be shown on the movie screen. There's some other reasons why I think Batman's villains are the best. According to Gizmodo.com, which is a comic book site, talks about some of the reason why Batman has the greatest villains. They talk about how some of Batman's villains don't have powers and still are able to cause trouble. For example, the Joker, he's done a lot of stuff and caused a lot of damage, and he has no superpowers. One of Batman's villains, named Mr. Freeze, he doesn't have powers as well, but he does have technology, so but being able to just have technology, that's still more powerful than some of his other villains, but some of his villains don't have technology, like the Penguin. The Penguin is just a regular dude who's part of the mob and just caused a lot of problems for Batman. Some of the other reasons why I think this is Batman's villains have been able to defeat him, and they have some of the greatest backstories that make people care for them. For example, with someone being Batman, Bane broke Batman's back. He was able to make Batman stop fighting crime, and that's a really big accomplishment according to Tom denofgeek.com, which is another comic book website, talking about Tom Hardy's Batman villain Bane is more relevant today than 10 years ago. Like, we're still talking about how that movie character broke Batman's back. And that's a huge accomplishment because Batman is one of the best fighters in the comic book world, and like no others people have stopped the Batman from fighting. Another reason, visual step in this is the Joker killed one of Batman's sidekicks, Robin. Jason Todd, who was a teen at the time, and the Joker just killed him with a crowbat. That is a very, very bad thing that he's done. And then he also shot Batgirl later in the spine, which caused her to be paralyzed. And Batman has trained those two people very well. And they've been able to, and Joker is able to defeat them with just modern, regular technology. It wasn't like something special. So, those, both defeating them and Batman, those are huge accomplishments. And I just think that with all these points, it's easy to me to say that Batman has the best comic book villains of all time. And according to Killscreen.com, another comic book website, they agree. They say that Batman has the best villains of all time. So if I were you, I would research more reasons to know why Batman has the best villains, and because there are many reasons why that I didn't talk about in this speech.